Hello, welcome. I am Abigail. If you're new here, hello. If you're not and you've been here before, then welcome back. Thanks for coming. Today I'm going to be doing a video about the things we're changing this time around. So if you didn't know, I'm pregnant again with my second child. I am having a free birth this time and a wild pregnancy, which I'll link this video below because it might give you some context into why I'm choosing to do some of the things I am this time around compared to the first time. I know a lot of people make these videos and talk about, you know, the things they're not using, what they think was a waste this time, and a lot of the things are items that we're choosing not to use this time. But it's from a deeper perspective, from just not using them the first time round. I'm consciously choosing things this time compared to the first time. Everly is 2 almost, so I did this first time round, you know, the newborn pregnancy birth, for the first time 2 years ago in October. And when we had Everly, I did some research. I consciously did choose to do a few things, but we had so much stuff. I was taking advice of everyone, and now I kind of have my own experience to work off of. So we're definitely doing things slightly differently this time around. So obviously I'm having a free birth. So with a free birth comes with a lot of different things to when you'd have a medical birth in a hospital or a home birth with midwives present. Obviously with a free birth, if you tear or if you require stitches, then you have to wait to see a midwife to get that. In terms of what we're choosing to do, as of now, I'm opting out of having stitches. I have done a lot of research on it, and I've made the informed decision to choose not to have stitches. That may change. This video is going to be TMI, just so you're aware. So if like anything is like, I am going to be talking about, you know, maternity pads, which means blood, and all the postpartum feels. So if you're not into that, I mean, I'm just making you aware that it is going to be a bit TMI. But yeah, so obviously as it comes, I might choose to opt to have stitches, but we had a horrific experience last time in the hospital in regards to my stitches, getting stitches put in after I had Everly. And honestly, the research that I've done since then, I don't want them. But obviously free birth in itself, I didn't have a free birth the first time around, didn't have a wild pregnancy, had a midwife-led pregnancy, had a birth in hospital, seen the midwife every 3 days, etc, etc, seen a health visitor, all of that. I'm opting out of this time round. So that is the biggest thing, but like I said, I have made a video about why I've chosen to do that, so I'll link that down below. I think it was about 2 videos ago. So the next thing that I'm going to be consciously doing this time around that I didn't do the first time is rest. And it sounds bizarre because obviously I've got a toddler, so how am I supposed to rest? But I've just read a book. It's called The First 40 Days, and honestly it is amazing. It just goes into depth of the reasons why women need to rest. In a lot of cultures around the world, women don't leave their houses for the first 40 days after giving birth. But unfortunately in this society, in this country, that is probably a bit tricky, and I'm due in November at some point, which means 40 days would lead me to Christmas, and I'm a massive Christmas fanatic, so I know that I will be wanting to get out of the house. But I am gonna really, my intention is to rest for as long as possible. Me and my children's father have spoken about this in great detail, so he is, you know, we are preparing for him to spend a lot of time with the toddler in order for me to rest this time around. because I felt so much pressure last time to be up. I was hoovering the house literally 2 days after I gave birth, and I felt so much pressure because so many people were coming around, that I needed the house to be clean. I needed to be up, showered and dressed. The baby needed to be up, showered and dressed and out of bed, and I felt that could have made a massive impact on my bonding time with my baby. So yeah, we are really thinking about, we are really going to give me and the baby time to bond together, to rest together, and to give that adjustment period for us all as a family, but also for our toddler who's 2 years old. It's going to be a massive change for her, and I don't want us to rush the change. I want her to give her the opportunity to, identify that there is changes going on and sit with it, kind of thing, not right, here's your new baby, let's get back to normal kind of thing. So yes, rest, which means we are going to be really strict with visitors. Last time we had everyone round, everyone possible who we needed to meet the baby round within the first week and a half. People have been around multiple times, and it was just chaos. Honestly, it was just chaos. Looking back, is my biggest regret in terms of the newborn stage of Beverly. We're going to actually try not to have anyone around for the first 24 hours. Obviously, like immediate family, like my mum, my in-laws kind of thing. We may need their support, but we are going to try for the first 24 hours just to have us, just to take it really slow pace. But yeah, I'll have to let you know how that goes, because it'll be really tricky for me to kind of let go of the housework, of the parenting toddler, of the go-ness of life. But I'll link the book that I'm reading down below, because it's brilliant. It's got really good recipes in it for healing your body naturally postpartum as well, which I'm planning on doing. So the next thing is I am using cloth everything in terms of maternity pads, newborn nappies, breast pads, cloth everything. Last time, from birth, postpartum, from giving birth, I used disposable maternity pads, disposable nappies, disposable breast pads, and we did change it over to cloth nappies when Everly was just under 4 months old, and that was because I hadn't even thought about using cloth nappies when she was a newborn, but my friend was using them, and I couldn't get, honestly, I was going through every single nappy brand and nappy wide possible, and I just couldn't find the right combination that I liked that was good for Everly's skin. So I ended up using cloth, and I love it. Loved it. The washing got me a bit stressed, but towards the end of our cloth using time with Everly. But this time around I am determined to use cloth from birth because of how good it is for the baby's skin, obviously for the environment. I just love the idea of it. I also noticed first time around that I was constantly running out of things, constantly running out of breast pads, constantly running out of maternity pads, which meant that when people, it was kind of giving people an excuse to come around, because they were like, oh, I'll pop round with some pads, I'll pop round with this, I'll pop round with some nappies. And if I'm using cloth maternity pads, cloth breast pads and cloth nappies, then I obviously won't have that issue. The only issue I'll have is washing powder, which, I mean, washing powder probably lasts a lot longer than the disposable pads do. And I started using cloth pads for, like cloth period pads postpartum with Everly, after I'd had Everly. And honestly, the difference in your period cramps, the difference in the flow of your period, honestly was a game changer as soon as I changed the cloth, rather than disposable pads, which are obviously filled with lots and lots of chemicals. But when I changed the cloth, game changer. So I'm definitely for sure using cloth maternity pads and breast pads this time Okay, so here are a few things that we are not using in terms of, you know, items for the baby. A lot of these are like quite common. Everyone's asking me, have you got this yet? And I'm like, I'm not doing it. So the first thing is that we're not using a pram. So with Everly, we had a pram. A family member bought it for us, gifted us it, which was obviously really kind. However, she hated it. I hated putting her in the pram. I've always been really in tune with my instincts when I'm mothering, and I found that putting her in a pram just felt so wrong to me. I baby wore her, you know, from the get-go until really recently, and that's just because I'm so pregnant, I can't. The last time I wore her was in July and it's now September, so till really recently I wore her. So as a newborn, and she wanted to be with me, with her food, all of the time. So she hated going in the pram, she hated going in the car seat. So the pram had no use whatsoever, at all, like ever. This time around, we have opted not even to think about getting one. I'll obviously be doing the same wearing the baby. Everly's really confident walker. She's been walking for over a year now. You know, she runs, she climbs, she jumps. She's so confident. Occasionally we do use the pram for her. We've got like a buggy now, a stroller. And it's normally for like big days out is when we use it. Like dancing competitions or like, you know, country fairs or at the zoo, etc, etc. We take it to put the luggage on. But if there's me and Everly's dad with us, we won't take it, because he normally puts Everly on his shoulders, or you know, he can carry her, whatever, while I'm wearing the baby. I just think there's no room for it. It's a lot of money. I'm just not going to invest in it, not going to do it. Not going to waste my money. The next thing I'm not using is a bouncy chair. You know, the little, some people have like bouncy rocker things, swings, chairs. We're not doing it. We had a bouncy chair for Everly, which, don't get me wrong, we really did use a lot. However, I hated that she was in that, she wasn't lying flat. I hated it. I hated that she was in that crunched up position a lot of the time. I did find it really practical if I was like making a meal. I could just pop her in there if she wasn't in the sling. But we've actually bought a Moses basket this time around, which we didn't have before. So last time around we lived in a smaller house, and we had upstairs, we just had the next to me crib attached to the bed, and then downstairs we just had the bouncy chair, and then Everly was just held all of the time. But this time we're not having the bouncy chair, but we have got a Moses basket and a Moses basket stand to go downstairs. And the reason I've got that is because I have to be conscious about the safety of the baby with Everly around, because she adores babies so much. She's really into, you know, she loves them. She's such a like mothering, she just loves them. But she's 2 years old. She can't, you know, the safety aspects of not climbing on the Moses basket and not climbing on the baby if the baby's in the chair, not, you know, being really gentle, not, you know, if she's, you know, giving the baby things, obviously she's not going to be very gentle with it. We can teach her that. We are already trying to teach her that. But for safety purposes, I would just prefer for the baby to be up on a Moses basket, or a Moses basket stand. Obviously, it's never going to get left on, like the baby's never going to get left on its own in it. So Everly's not going to like be able to climb up into the Moses basket. But I just think it's safer to have the baby up and away. Also for like evening time, when Everly's in bed, obviously the baby would be down here with us, but if the baby is asleep, then if I need to jump in the shower, putting it in the Moses basket so it's lying down flat rather than crunched up in a little chair. Is obviously better for the baby and safer. Next thing that we're not using is a changing unit. I've watched hundreds of these videos and everyone kind of says the same thing. There's no point. That, you know, the first time around everyone wants it in their nursery. It's really aesthetically pleasing to have all the matching furniture and the lovely changing unit set up, but the reality is at 3 o'clock in the morning, especially if you're breastfeeding and you're not getting up out of bed anyway, you don't want to get up and change the baby on a changing unit. I found it much easier to change the baby in bed all the time, or like on the couch or whatever. The changing unit just literally never got used. The changing mat never got used. Portable one, which I had in my changing bag, got used when we were out and about, like in public toilets or whatever, but never a changing mat, so never a changing unit. So obviously I am breastfeeding, that's why I started this YouTube channel, to share breastfeeding support and things. So this time around there's a few things I'm not doing in terms of breastfeeding. And the first thing is that I'm not going to be buying any nipple creams. So with Everly, everyone told me about the Lancino purple nipple cream, which I went through a lot of bottles of, and at the time I think it was great. However, I have now trained in breastfeeding support and I know the difference, and since then, and from doing it myself, I know that the best thing, the only thing that's really going to heal your cracked nipples is a really good latch for the baby. So obviously you need support and knowledge to do that, and breast milk is insanely, honestly, amazing. Hand express a little bit of breast milk onto your nipple and rub it in onto the cracked nipple is literally the only thing I found really worked. As soon as I stopped using the cream, I've got quite flat nipples anyway, so trying to breastfeed a newborn who didn't really know what they were doing to get my nipple out with cream on it where it was quite slippery was quite difficult, whereas breast milk dries really quickly. You know, you can put it on, there's no risk. I know a lot of brands say, you know, it's fine to have on, it's fine for baby to latch on when it's the cream's still wet and etc. and stuff, but there is no guarantee that that's not harming the baby. It's not affecting the baby at all. You don't know what chemicals and things are in there, whereas breast milk, you know this is perfectly brilliant for the baby. So and you know, for real, we breastfed for 100,000 million years before, you know, the society, like before the stages of like chemicalized everything that we live in now. So how do we think women cope without creams? We would have died out if the breast was so sore from breastfeeding that it forced you to stop. Without the creams, then surely the human race would have died, because women had no healing. Like, yeah. So I'm not using creams this time around. Obviously, I just said I'm not using disposable breast pads, which I think may be a game changer too, because obviously there's chemicals in plastic pads or cotton, but you know, they're not reusable ones. In the night when I had a newborn last time, every night I made myself sit up, get my pillow, get my phone ready, you know, ready, almost like a station to feed my baby. And honestly, the sleep deprivation then, when she was getting up every 2 hours, every hour, was horrific. But as soon as I figured out how to lie down and breastfeed her, it was a game changer. Like, honestly, so safe. There's not as much wind for the baby because you're not, you know, feeding the baby, then having to move them. They're literally, they're being fed and they're settled there. And you can distinctly, and that's how we're supposed to breastfeed our babies in bed, because it reduces the risks of SIDS, it reduces the risk, you know, it literally is a survival instinct in them, in us, to sleep next to and breastfeed lying down our babies. So I am not even going to, obviously unless I can't get comfy or whatever, but I am not gonna, because I'm not gonna think, oh, I can't lie down and feed, I'll fall asleep. Because as soon as I started bed sharing rather than co-sleeping, when Evie was about 8 weeks old, it changed everything. I was so less tired, she was so much more settled, and I wasn't grumpy because we were so much safer. I wasn't risking her life from me sitting up feeding her and falling asleep, because it's much safer to just lie down where she's already on a bed safe next to me. Yeah, that is pretty much everything that I am not going to be doing, we are not going to be doing this time around that we did with our first. Obviously this video is slightly different to the ones other people put up, because a lot of the time it is just like practical things, like we're not going to be using this car seat, we're not going to be using this. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.